to view online now and in the future. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I've had no request for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Members in the chamber, please be aware that we're all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. And please remember to speak clearly into your microphones. Members participating remotely, can you please refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you wish to speak. Please remember to keep your microphones muted when you're not talking. Moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1 is attendance. Democratic Services will be making a note of members' attendance in the meeting, but should you lose connection, could you possibly leave a comment in the chat bar on your return to ensure that this is picked up. Agenda item 2 is apologies for absence. Dominic, have we any apologies, please?
I've had apologies from Councillors Stuart Ashley, Richard Clark, Sue Molson and Nick Simons.
Gaynor James may be arriving late. Thank you. Any other apologies from the floor? Thank you for that. Declarations of interest, which is agenda item number 3. Justine Cask, Deputy Monitoring Officer, have you any advice for members, please?
Thank you. There are some declarations this morning. In relation to agenda item 11, David Williams, Mandy Owen, can you please confirm that you have a personal interest as you're a council-appointed governor?
Yes.
Thank you. And in relation to agenda item 13, Giles Davis and Liam Cowles, can you please confirm that you have a personal interest as you're a council-appointed governor at Abersacan?
Yes. Yes.
And Councillor Cowles, can you please also confirm that you have a personal and prejudicial interest as your brother attends the school?
That's correct, yes, Justine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor O'Connell, can I ask that you confirm that you have a personal and prejudicial interest as your wife works at the school?
Yeah, confirmed.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Clarkson, can I ask you to confirm that you have a personal and prejudicial interest in as your nephew's wife is a learning support assistant?
Yes, that's correct, thanks.
And that leads me lastly to the motion on pay. Councillor Gordon and Councillor Price, can I ask you to confirm that you have a personal and prejudicial interest as you work for a trade union?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, correct.
Thank you. And the leader, can I ask you to confirm that you have a personal interest as you're one of the leaders involved in the pay negotiation body which works across the UK as part of your WRGA role? Thank you. Thank you, Madam Presiding Member.
Chair, can I also report, please, I have a niece that works in Abersacan Comprehensive School.
That would be personal and prejudicial.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you. That takes us to agenda item 4, which is the confirmation of the council minutes from the 25th of the 4th, 2023, which is starting on page 5. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. Don't see any raised hands. I'll take those as approved. Thank you very much. Agenda item 5, which is the confirmation of the council minutes, the 15th of the 5th, 2023, starting on page 57. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to these minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. Don't see any hands raised. They are approved. Thank you. Agenda item 6, which is the update on actions. Members, the update on what has been done to implement our previous decisions start on page 83 of the agenda. Could you possibly indicate whether you have any questions or comments? No? Can I ask members whether they agree to note the update on actions? Thank you. They noted. Receipt of petitions. Agenda item 7. We have no petitions this morning, so we'll move on to agenda item 8, which is the public question time. There is one public question today, and can I ask, is the resident available to ask this question? Dominique? No? Then I'll take the question. Just bear with me a minute. paperwork. Would be the last sheet. Right. The public question that we've received today comes from Anne Lacey Brown, and the question is Torfaen Council aware that by including the agenda resource Mermaids UK, Stonewall Cymru and Umbrella Cymru in the list of resource and services to support RSE used by schools across the country, that it is effectively signposting families towards individuals and organisations who promote gender theory as a fact, whilst offering no information regarding other organisations who promote alternative perspectives on this politically contentious matter, whereby contravening the Education Act 1996, Section 406, Political Doctrination, in brackets, and 407, and brackets, Duty to secure balanced treatment of political issues. Furthermore, why has Torfaen Council not issued an instruction to schools to remove Mermaids UK from its RSE resources, given that the charity is currently under investigation by the Charity Commission due to safeguarding concerns being raised back in September 2022? Councillor Richard Clark was due to answer this question, but the leader will answer in his place. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. We all agree that young people have the right to access information that keeps them safe from harm. Relationships and sexuality education is designed to safeguard all our children and young people, supporting them to develop knowledge, skills and behaviours that will assist them in protecting them throughout their lives. This is critical to building society which treats others with understanding and empathy, whatever their ethnicity, faith, socio-economic background, disability, sex, gender or sexuality. The Gwent Relationships and Sexuality Education Model Policy is a regional resource to support schools to deliver their individual provision in line with the curriculum for Wales. In relation to organisations that may support the implementation of their curriculum, the regional model policy includes a caveat. The views and opinions included with these external internet addresses do not necessarily mirror the views or opinions of the local authority. It is not the responsibility of the local authority to advise, monitor or be liable for the content of these external internet addresses. Use of any information obtained from such address is voluntary and reliance on it should only be undertaken after independent review of its accuracy, completeness and suitability for the intended audience. The local authority will continue to work with regional national partners, including the Public Health Wales network of healthy school schemes, to ensure that support offered to schools in relation to RSE is appropriate and in line with the curriculum for Wales. And at the end of the day, we all trust our teaching staff to develop appropriate materials for their children.
Okay. Thank you, Leader. That takes us to agenda item 9, announcements of the Leader or Chief Executive. Leader, do you have any announcements today, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member and Board members. At this time of year, there's always a lot going on, so I wanted to make a few announcements about events. This weekend marks Relay for Life in Pontypool Park, where teams get together for a 24-hour relay around the park to raise funds to Cancer Research UK and remember and celebrate those who battle cancer. It's Men's Health Week from the 12th to the 18th of June, and this year the focus is on raising awareness of the signs and symptoms of testicular cancer to look out for. I'll make sure all members have distributed the materials that have been sent out by email relating to that particular health campaign. Next, I'd like to pass on congratulations to our local Britain's Got Talent finalist, Travis George, on his fantastic performances on the show throughout the series. Travis did Torfaen proud, and we hope to see him go from strength to strength in the future. This week is also Green Week, which is a week-long event being held by environmental organisations, including events to raise awareness and engage with the public around climate action, sustainable living and biodiversity. Volunteers Week was held this year between the 1st and the 7th of June. Thank you to the Torfaen Voluntary Alliance for their work to recognise voluntary groups during the week. Last week was also Carers Awareness Week. Thank you to all the carers who help others across Torfaen. We'll continue to strive to provide support and advice on your rights and have recently become the first organisation in Wales to be given carer-friendly employer accreditation. Back to this week, and it's Blood Donor Week, which is a great chance to highlight the life-saving difference donating blood can make. Over 350 donations are needed every day across Wales to help patients, and sessions are held in many locations to help keep stocks up. Please visit www.donor.org www.wbs.wales to find out more about how you can help. Thank you to Cymraeg Community Council for a successful big event on Saturday, and a reminder that Party in the Park will be held on Saturday the 8th of July, thanks to Pontypool Community Council. A reminder to members that it's Armed Forces Week next week, and we'll be holding a flag-raising ceremony on Monday at 10 a.m. outside the Civic Centre. All are welcome. And next, before one final announcement from me, I'd like to hand over to Executive Member Peter Jones for an update on our efforts to mark Pride Month.
Thank you, Leader. On Monday, the 5th of June, we posted on Swoop invitations to the Pride Cymru parade on the 17th of June, that's this Saturday in Cardiff, which celebrates our ongoing commitment to being a proud council. There is also another event in Caerphilly on the 24th of June, and details about that have also been circulated. There is also likely to be an event in Newport, and as soon as we have details on that, I'll make sure that all members are informed. Our officers in the Equality and Cohesion team are meeting soon, this week I understand, with community members to discuss a possible Torfaen event either this year or next year. Again, as soon as I have more information about this, I will notify all councillors. Finally, information has been sent out about team's background if anyone wants to support the Pride Month in that way. I hope this reassures members about this council's commitment to Pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Anthony?
Thank you, Peter. Two last things from me. First of all, to congratulate all the Torfaen businesses who were winners at the Monmouthshire and Torfaen Business Awards that were held last week in Abergavenny Market Hall. We'll be holding them in Torfaen next year, and I look forward to continuing that really positive conversation with local businesses who are doing some great work. Last of all, I'd like to introduce to the Council Gregor Allen, who's a Year 6 New Inn primary school pupil. He's with us in Council today following his winning of the Young People's Award at the Celebrating Forces Families Awards. Gregor wanted to help his little sister prepare for their father's tour of duty in the Middle East, so he produced a list of activities and asked the school to set up a club for service children. Thank you, Gregor, for your fine example of community action, and we'd like to present you with a small gift as a token of our admiration for what you've done.
Does that end your report, Leader? Thank you. Chief Executive, do you have anything to announce?
Sorry, couldn't possibly follow that. No announcements from me today. Thank you, Madam Presiding Member.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I think Gregor has left us now, but it's lovely to see young people attend Council. So that takes us to agenda item 10, which is the Pontypool Rugby Football Club's report, starting on page 85. Councillor Anthony Hunt, Leader, could you deliver this report for us, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member, and thank you, members. As you'll see from the report, Pontypool RFC have experienced tough times on and off the pitch, so it's an issue of great celebration. They now look forward to a promising future in the Premiership. Executive Chairman Peter Jeffries and Head Coach Leighton Jones have been instrumental in the upturn in their fortunes. Leighton's been in post since 2016, and his leadership, dedication and loyalty to the club as a Pontypool man himself has been vital in their part in sustaining excellence over the pitch over the last 7 years. For those less familiar with the travails of rugby, they have won or been very close to winning the league for each of the past 6 seasons, but due to various issues such as pandemics and playoffs and ring fencing of the division above, they've not been able to go up before this year. This year they won 26 games out of 26, and they won the Cup down in Cardiff, so that's a fantastic award. Therefore, as a mark of respect towards them, and because of the importance of the club to our borough, I propose that we consider awarding the Freedom of the Borough to Pontypool Rugby Club. I also want to take the opportunity in this report not just to recognise the achievements of Pontypool Rugby Club, but of all rugby clubs around this borough who have achieved remarkable success across this season. You'll see in 4.6 the record of achievement of our sporting clubs, which are a source of great local pride. This report chooses to focus on rugby clubs, but of course there are a huge range of sporting activities, both clubs and individuals, who continue to fly the flag for Pontypool extremely effectively. In rugby, the Eastern Valley is going to strength in the women's club game. The Arrows lead the way. In the men's club game, Glenavon, Pontypool United and Tallywayne will make up a strong Torvine contingent in League 1 East next season. Cross Killiog, Cwmbran and Gondifforth will line up in League 2 East. New Panteg will look forward to the season next year in League 4 after a really resurgent season this year. Forgeside, Abersucken and Westmont will compete strongly in League 5 East, and Girling in League 6. Many Torvine clubs also have thriving junior and mini sections and play a huge role in their communities beyond just the rugby pitch. They also play a part in important public health objectives, as a fit and healthy community is likely to be a more resilient and prosperous one, as well as a happier one. Therefore, as a mark of this and the need to extend our focus beyond just rugby and beyond the pinnacle of sport in the borough, I'd like to investigate what can be done to set up a Torvine Sporting Achievements log online, working with our sports development team and others to have a log that recognises individual and collective achievements on the sporting in the sporting arena across Torvine. So I'd like to recommend this report to you. There's no particular the conferring of freedom is something that goes back to ancient times, and there's no particular special rights that are conferred in today's society to freemen. However, it is maintained as a means of public recognition given to individuals and collectives of individuals as an expression of the high esteem in which they're held by the council and the people of this borough. In closing, I'd just like to say that the Pontypool Rugby Club is special to this borough. It's something that's recognised around the rugby world, and it's something that we should be proud of and we should use to further the ambitions of our town as well. For me, club, park and town go hand in hand. We've got a fantastic park there. We've got, in my view, the best rugby club in the world. I don't have to declare an interest because I pay for my season ticket myself, so I can say that. And we've also got a pyramid of rugby clubs that feed into that. So I think this is a way of recognising that, but also of putting in place something to recognise some of maybe the lesser known and lesser celebrated sporting achievements in our borough too. Lastly, I'd just like to say that sport in this borough depends hugely on the efforts of people who are volunteers, people who give up their free time, especially to help younger people in enjoying their sporting achievements. Sport for me isn't just about physical activity, especially for young people. It's about building the skills that they'll need in life, the ability to work with other people, to get on in a team, to be dedicated, to work hard at what you do, and that as a way of getting on in life. And I think that's a great example that goes well beyond just the sporting pitch. So thank you to everyone who plays a part in the life of sport in Torvine. And I'd just like to move the recommendations at paragraph 8.1. It's recommended that we award the Freedom of the Borough to Pontypool Rugby Club in recognition of their achievements, of their importance to the borough as a mark of respect towards the whole Torvine rugby community, and that work will be done to establish the best method and location for publishing Torvine sporting achievements online to recognise and celebrate the sporting achievements of local clubs and individuals. So I move the report.
Thank you, Leader. Any comments from any members? Can I say, I think we'd echo the Leader's comments with regard to our sporting clubs being a swimming teacher for many, many years, and Volunteer Week was last week, so I'd like to compliment all the volunteers also that contribute to the sport within our borough. So thank you very much for that. Members, we need a roll call because of the Local Government Act states that it can only be found in favour if 2/3 of members vote for it. The recommendation is as stated by the leader, and can I ask Democratic Services to conduct the roll call, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Okay, I'll start with Councillor Alfie Best.
Can I remind members that you will be asked to agree, against or abstain? Thank you.
Councillor Best. Sorry, Councillor Best, what was that? Sorry?
4, sorry.
4, thanks. Councillor Bonera.
Agree, yes.
Councillor Burnett.
Agreed, yes.
Councillor Byrne.
Agreed, yes.
Councillor Clarkson.
Agreed.
Councillor Cowles.
Agreed.
Councillor Cross.
Agreed.
Councillor Daniels.
Yep, 4.
Councillor Davis.
Agreed.
Councillor Evans.
Agreed.
Councillor Joanne Gordon.
Agreed.
Councillor Carl Gordon.
Agreed.
Councillor Haynes.
4.
Councillor Nick Haller.
Agreed.
Councillor John Haller.
Agreed.
Councillor Anthony Hunt.
4.
Councillor Gaynor James.
Agreed.
Councillor John James.
Agreed.
Councillor Janet Jones.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Jones. Councillor Mark Jones. You're muted, Councillor Jones.
Councillor Jones, are you online? Councillor Mark Jones? No, move on, please.
Councillor Peter Jones.
Agreed.
Councillor Rosemary Matthews.
Yes, agreed.
Councillor Sue Morgan.
Agreed.
Councillor Jason O'Connell.
Agreed.
Councillor Mandy Owen.
Agreed.
Councillor Norma Parish.
4.
Councillor Caroline Price.
Agreed.
Councillor Rose Seaborn.
Agreed.
Councillor Alan Slade.
4.
Councillor Chris Tew.
Agreed.
Councillor Colette Thomas.
Agreed.
Councillor David Thomas.
4.
Councillor Jane Watkins. Don't think I see her now. Councillor David Williams.
4.
Councillor Lucy Williams. Councillor Nathan Yole.
Agreed.
Thank you. I think that's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. That takes us to the 2/3 and unanimous vote. Thank you very much for that, members. Leader, I'd like to invite Peter Jeffries and Leighton Jones to join us in the chamber, please. Somebody else will be married soon.
I'd like to thank Peter and Leighton and indeed Bryn from the WRU for coming along today. You may have heard we had to have a roll call there because we had to get 2/3 majority to do this, but we've agreed to grant the freedom of the borough to Pontypool Rugby Club in recognition of the huge success and the value that we place on the club for our community and our town. So we'd like to thank you for the huge amount of work that you've put on. Leighton, over the last 6 years as head coach, maintaining that excellence, just about winning every game for 6 years is a huge achievement, keeping that high level up year in, year out, despite pandemics and playoffs that I won't mention and other sort of things that got in the way of our promotion to get to the Premiership really is something worthy of celebration. That's thanks to yourself and the hard work of the players. And Peter, I remember before I was a councillor, when we were having to do whip rounds to pay our wages, and the club was really, not in a great way. The contribution that you've made to the club since you've been there, the professionalism on and off the pitch, and the sporting achievement is something that's worthy of huge recognition. So we'd like to thank you both for your efforts. We'd like to suggest setting up a proper ceremony, and perhaps at the park, to recognise the freedom of the borough. Apparently we have to produce a scroll that's given to you that you're welcome to hang on the wall somewhere. But more than that, really, it's a symbol of the respect and the admiration that we have. We recognise that as a Pontypool man myself, our town is recognised throughout the rugby world, and that's because of Pontypool Rugby Club. We also, in the report today, wanted to recognise the huge success of all our teams in the Eastern Valley this year. I think we've got a rugby pyramid that we can be proud of, and we're also going to set up a Torvine Sporting Achievements log to help better recognise the achievements of individuals and clubs from across the borough. But we'd like to thank you for coming along today. I wish you all the best, and to offer you that recognition for the club of the high esteem in which you're held by the council.
Thanks very much.
Because I wanted to be really irritating. It was about the school thing. School uniforms. Lee's got a tight deadline. He needs it done by Wednesday.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you. We're taking agenda item 11 now, which is the Torvine LDP Supplementary Planning Guidance, or SPG, which starts on page 89. Adrian Wilcock, Principal Planner, could you deliver your report for us, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. The report before you today covers 3 supplementary planning guidance documents, which I refer to as SPGs, and I will explain each in turn. Also, whilst I'm report lead, my colleagues Rachel Stansfield, Henrietta Lucas and Steve Williams are available to answer any more detailed questions you may have on their individual SPGs. It is also noted that all 3 SPGs relate in some way to addressing the Council's declaration of climate and nature emergencies, and members will recall that we recently held member seminars on all 3 SPGs. The Sustainable Locations SPG sets out the Council's approach to assessing whether the location of a proposed housing site can positively contribute towards reducing travel distances and removing dependence on private car journeys, i.e. where there are opportunities for residents to carry out normal daily journeys on foot, bicycle or bus. The draft SPG recently underwent a 6-week public stakeholder consultation, during which time we received several comments, as detailed in the report of consultation attached to Appendix 1. The final version of the SPG is attached to Appendix 2, and it's been brought back before you today with a recommendation for adoption, taking account of the comments made and officer responses to them and other changes detailed in the report. Next, the report covers 2 draft supplementary planning guidance notes, which, following your considerations, we are seeking approval today to undertake a 6 weeks public stakeholder consultation upon. The first is the draft Biodiversity, Ecosystem Resilience and Development SPG. I need to get that shortened, I think. This is attached to Appendix 3. and details how the Council will ensure new development maintains and enhances biodiversity and ecosystem resilience by following the stepwise approach to maintaining and enhancing biodiversity at each stage of the development management process. It also provides guidance on how to achieve biodiversity enhancement. The draft Green Infrastructure SPG is attached to Appendix 4 and sets out the Council's approach to the consideration of green infrastructure in relation to new developments. It consists of an overarching green infrastructure section supplemented by 4 detailed topic-based technical annexes on trees and woodlands within development, open space and recreation, public rights of way within development, and landscape design and assessment. Following consultation, both draft SPGs will be brought back to Council with a report of consultation on any comments received for consideration alongside any recommended changes before a resolution is made for their adoption. Finally, I draw your attention to the report recommendations at paragraph 8.1. Thank you, Madam Presiding Member.
Thank you, Adrian. Can I ask members if they have any comments or questions? Councillor David Williams.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I welcome this. I think there was a very informative members' seminar that was held, and I think we found all the questions that were raised well answered. So I think bringing all this together in one place is a very important and valued piece of work, and must have taken a lot of time and effort. So my congratulations go to the officers for pulling this together in this way, and I think it's a very positive thing to take forward.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? Councillor Aaron Slade.
Thank you. Isn't there a danger that by placing further requirements upon developers, isn't there a danger that there would be a negative impact on perhaps the viability of sites? Whereas they have to spend more on their sort of application, there might be sort of less available for Section 106 requirements, for example.
Yeah, Rachel. Yeah, so I don't see there's a huge amount of extra cost in here anyway. A lot of this will be sort of put into certainly the Sustainable Locations SPG. We're asking for a small assessment of, where their site is. And the same with, the future ones. Biodiversity is now a requirement. Without doing biodiversity enhancement, we shouldn't be giving planning permission. And the same with maintaining green infrastructure. So, there is an allowance in viability professional fees, and I don't see these are excessive compared to other things that applicants have to provide for a planning application. Thank you.
Presiding Member, can I come in on that one as well? So thanks, Councillor Slade. I think the concerns, we want to attract investment into the borough. We want good development as well. And actually, I think the creation of a strong supplementary planning guidance framework actually will give more certainty to the market. Now, some of them might say, oh, you're putting more burdens on us, this is more onerous. But actually, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is good, sustainable development, and we're giving them more certainty at the beginning to help inform their planning. So I think for us, that's why there's been a lot of work done to update and bring forward our SPGs, particularly in light of the climate change emergency. We've declared a declaration. We have to follow that through into implementation. So that's why, but I think for us, this really feeds into our vision of what we want development to be. And if people want to come, we do want investment, but we don't want poor investment, and we don't want poor communities being designed for the future. So I hope with the SPG, and you can see from the consultations, we haven't had a huge suite of responses from the market saying otherwise that this isn't helpful. And I think we're just trying to adopt best practice in how we take forward development in the borough.
Rachel, Councillor Slade.
I totally agree with everything you've got to say about attracting high quality developments. My only concern is with the extra responsibility, maybe cost, of putting in things like active travel, whether the developers will be left with the same incentive to provide sort of social housing, and that's my concern. that the question of viability becomes such that they weren't able to provide the amount of social housing that we obviously need. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to come in, Adrian?
No, I think, we've said we recognise your concern. It is a point to be made, but as I said, I think it's marginal in the big scheme of costs.
Thank you. Any other members' questions? No. I'll take you to the 6 recommendations on page 95 of the report then. Can I ask members whether they agree the recommendations? Those in favour, please raise. Thank you. Anyone against? Don't see any. Any abstentions? Thank you for that. That report is carried. Thank you, Adrian and Rachel. Rachel again. Takes us to agenda item 12, which is the Welsh Language Standards Annual Report 2022-23. I can't believe a year has gone past, Alan, since you was up. So this report is on page 247. Alan Vernon-Jones, the Welsh Language Officer. Could you deliver this report, please?
Thank you, Presiding Member. As you said, reports can be found on page, or starting at mid-reports can be found on page 251. Right, go right down, members. I'd like to present the Welsh Language Standards Compliance Annual Report for the financial year 2022-23. The report is a statutory requirement of the Welsh Language Standards and must be published no later than the 30th of June on the Council website and made available in each of our offices. Just running you through a few points within the report. Compliance. The reports list our compliance with each of the service, policy and operational standards. Service delivery standards is everything relating to our public-facing services, in terms of correspondence by telephone or by written correspondence. Policy standards relates to the decisions made by this Council and whether the Welsh language has been considered, and operational standards is our workforce and the rights of our employees to use Welsh language in the workplace. Complaints. There were 4 complaints received during 22-23, 1 directly from the public and 3 via the Welsh Language Commissioner. The Welsh Language Commissioner investigations can take up to 6 months to complete, tying up valuable officer time and resources. So, compliance is key here. Language skills. Another statutory element of the report is to record the Welsh language skills of our employees. We currently have 10.7 of our workforce who have some Welsh language skills. This compares to 8.24% of Torfaen residents who indicate that they could speak Welsh in the 2021 census, although not all the Welsh speakers are employed in frontline roles. The Council also gathers information on preferred language of staff in order to aid with HR issues. This ties in with the operational standards. 7 members of staff have indicated that they would prefer to use Welsh in the workplace. Welsh language training. The Council continues to offer basic Welsh training in line with the standards to all its staff through Coleg Gwent, our regional centre for learning Welsh, and an audio online course, Say Something in Welsh. Recruitment. You will see within the report that 857 posts were advertised during 22-23, but only 37.4% of these were advertised requiring any level of Welsh language skill. A review of the Welsh Language Service is underway, looking at solutions that will remove the barriers in advertising posts with Welsh language skills. And lastly, the last page of the report lists some of the achievements during 22-23. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Alan. Councillor Peter Jones.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd just like to thank Alan for this report. A lot of work goes into the compliance for our Welsh language, and I see Alan as the guardian angel of the Council, really, that he looks after all our responsibilities here, and I'd recommend this report to members.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Any other members wish to comment? Councillor David Williams.
Really, just to echo some of those points, because I think obviously the introduction of these standards seemed to be quite a significant step. But I think that the work that Alan and colleagues have done has really sort of highlighted what we can do and have done in that time. So, Diane.
I don't see any other members wishing to speak, so... Yeah, sorry, Councillor David Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, I was the exec member when these standards first came in, and I remember the conversations we were having at the time about the potential fines that were relating to non-compliance with these standards, and it was a mammoth task. So I do feel compelled to pay tribute to Alan for his work, because it's a real testament that today that this item, this recommendation is pretty, it's benign, really, isn't it, compared to what it would have been years ago. This was a financial worry for us, so it's a real testament to Alan that this is just passing easily. So thank you very much for all your hard work on it, Diane.
Thank you, Councillor Daniels. I don't see any other members wishing to, so thank you, Alan Diaconvel. Thank you for your report. That takes us to agenda item 13, which is the 3G pitch in the north of the borough. We do have some declarations of interest, and some members may wish to leave the chamber or switch off their computer. We'll call you back in later. Lyndon Puddy, Head of Public Services Support Unit. Could you deliver this report once the members have left? Thank you. Chris, are we okay? On the computer, switched off?
Yeah, this is the prejudicial interests item.
Thank you very much, Lyndon.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member, and good morning, members. The report before you today, starting on page 267 of your pack, offers a real and exciting opportunity to develop a high-quality 3G pitch provision for the north of the borough. I was thinking of what the leader said earlier when leader was talking about the Pontypool and freedom of the borough, and how this actually supports and helps that project as we go forward as well. So it's quite interactive with what the leader was talking about earlier to council. But in terms of background, following some community renewal funding, a feasibility study was commissioned for a 3G pitch at the Aberystwyth site school. The study concluded that a 3G pitch could replace the existing turf pitch, and as part of the study, a Royal Institute of British Architects concept drawing supported the study, having taken into account a number of remedial activities such as groundworks into the account of the study. In addition, in November 22, Cabinet approved the allocation of £3.4 million from the Shared Prosperity Fund for 2 new 3G sports pitches, one located in Llantarnam and the other the opportunity to locate in Aberystwyth. We are at a very early stage, and emphasise we're at a very early stage with members, but the feasibility study does indicate that we can provide a very high quality 3G pitch for use in both rugby and football, which would contain a shock layer over a hard macadam surface. So we're talking of a really high quality provision here. This pitch, which is currently within cost and subject to any unexpected further costs and groundworks, could also include and feature stands, fencing, floodlights and dugouts, which are what we consider to be really good amenities to be provided alongside the pitch. We really want to make the most of this opportunity within the funding envelope to make this pitch a very high quality provision, and will support clubs and communities in the north of the borough. The funding envelope is £2.3 million from the Shared Prosperity Fund, and in addition £350,000 from funding sourced by education colleagues for further improvements within the schools, including resurfacing of other playing assets on the school site, including netball provision and tennis courts. In developing this provision as a council, it fits within the strategic priorities of the county plan and will support and promote healthier lifestyles and improve physical and mental well-being, and importantly, connect communities. In addition, members recently approved the draft Gwent Regional Wellbeing Plan, and this development also aligns to the key priorities of health inequalities, the environment and supporting communities, which are also integral parts of that regional plan. We know there is demand for all-weather pitches throughout the borough, particularly after 4 o'clock in the evening. They're very well used. But we also know that we've got significant winter pressures coming through excessive weather events and requiring more pitches that are of a availability for 365 days a year. Across the north of the borough, this was an interesting topic my colleagues in Sports Development provided for us. There's 24 rugby teams from the ages of 7 to seniors, of which there's 536 registered rugby players. There's 26 football teams in the north of the borough from ages 7 to seniors. They have 499 registered players, and we know from an educational standpoint we have 1,873 students on roll. So there is a large number of our residents utilising sports and registered with sports clubs and in our education provision. As part of this, we've looked at the other 3G provision across the borough, and we've got 6 of those currently, but they are all of various size and usages dependent upon the finish they have. Some only allow for training facilities, whilst others allow for full contact, and others are half size, 3/4 size, and full size. So what this proposal will offer is a full-size pitch provision in the north of the borough. And in section 4.2 of the report, members, you'll note that we've put in there those areas that we would consider you must have, what should have, and what we could have. And these will be constantly appraised, making best use of the available funding and being conscious of any unknown works that will then require further consideration to maintain the project within the funding envelope. The pitch that we are looking at, we want to comply with both FIFA and World Rugby to enable the best standard of competition to take place. And indeed, I know there's an aspiration of the Chief Executive that we will want to be holding tournaments and other major sporting events to help with our tourism investment and open up the north of the borough for better use of such a facility. The design work we expect to be delivered via our existing Memorandum of Understanding for civil design works. We will then commission via an open tender via the Sales to Wales platform when we're ready to go to market. 4.4 of the report provides Council with the actions and timelines that take completion and delivery up to the 31st of May 2025. The timing of this project is particularly critical, as SPF funds must be spent by the 31st of March 2025 to enable drawdown. This means the project must be completed by the 31st of March 2025. And we have already started a complex project management process with colleagues in education, particularly Steve Tong, who has some considerable experience in this area. The next steps, subject to Council approval today, is for wider community engagement with clubs, schools, and indeed the wider community in the north. And if agreed, the project come in the guise of the Project Management Office within the Council, and will be intensely managed through our existing systems. There are wider issues to work through, including management and maintenance of the facility as we progress through the next 2 financial years. But I really believe this is an important project that supports a number of strategic drivers across this council. It also supports a number of drivers on the regional agenda, provides an excellent playing surface for clubs and communities within the north of the borough. I would ask, Madam Presiding Officer, the Council considers the report and approves it for implementation. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Lyndon. Any comments from any members? Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Presiding Member, and thank you, Lyndon, for that report. I think that the link that you made to the earlier report is an apt one, really. This is all interlinked for me, unless we have the facilities across the borough to help our sports teams move forwards, then we're always going to be at a disadvantage. And this isn't just about sport for me. This is about physical activity and the wider value of sport, as you say, to many of our key objectives. I think sport helps improve people's physical and mental health. It also improves community cohesion when teams get together. So I know there's always more to do, and there's always more that we can do, and I don't apologise for keeping nagging Office about facilities. But I think if we can get this online with facilities in Trevethin and Lantana coming online as well, I think we can have the facilities to match anywhere in in Wales, and I think that's something that we should be pleased with, not just because of the number of teams you talk about there, but because of the provision we can have, I think, in this location, both for the school, its feeder schools, and the wider community. I think can be something to be proud of. So I very much recommend this report to members.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Giles Davis.
Thank you, Madam President. Member, can I just thank the leader for this? I know a lot of work's gone into this 3G pitch over the years. It's been about 7-8 years coming along, so I thank him for all his efforts, and it's long overdue for the North, and I look forward to seeing it being built and used by all the teams. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Giles Davis. Anybody else wishing to speak? No, I don't see any. Thank you, members. Thank you, Lyndon. Members, you're asked to agree the recommendations which are 8.1 on page 271 of the report. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Oh, Nick Byrne, no, that was in favour, I believe, yeah. Anyone against? Thank you. That report is carried. Thank you, Lyndon. Can we call the members back in, please? Takes us to agenda item 14, which is the voting system for Torfaen County Borough Council. I remind members we've received a petition, and this is the response, which is on page 279. Caroline Jennifer-Jones, Elections Manager, could you deliver this report for us, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Good morning, members. At the April 4 Council meeting, the Chief Executive received a petition requesting that Torfaen County Borough Council considers changing its voting system to the single transferable vote. Following the receipt of the petition, a member seminar was held on the voting systems available to Torfaen County Borough Council and the legislative process required to change the voting system. During the seminar, the feedback we received was all opposed to supporting a change to the voting system at this time. So the Chief Executive agreed to email all members to gauge their opinion on whether they wished to progress the petition further. 70% of members responded to the email, and the vote was unanimous in that they did not want to pursue the petition any further at this time. Therefore, the recommendation at 8.1 is that due to the lack of support from members, the Council agrees not to pursue the request to change the voting system in Torfaen, and that the petitioner will be informed of the decision.
Thank you, Caroline. Any comments on that? I think we had a good debate. I need to ask members to look at the recommendation on page 8.1, on 8.1 of page 281. It's a mouthful. Members, can I ask you if you agree with the recommendations? Please show. Thank you. Those against? Any abstentions? That report is carried. Thank you, Caroline. Takes us to agenda item 15, motions on notice, which is on page 283. We had a declaration of interest from Councillor Carl Gordon. So I believe Councillor Nathan Yowell is going to present this report, please. Members, can you please leave if you've got a declaration? Thank you.
Presiding Member, can I declare an interest, please, as a Unison member, and I do some part-time admin work for a union branch.
Thank you.
So pretty short.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Hunt.
Just to refer back to my previously declared interest and also as a union member.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Nathan Yowell, can you present this motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, members, the motion submitted to Council today in the name of my colleague, Councillor Carl Gordon, comes from a resident of his in Pontier who works in a school, and I'm happy to speak to this motion on behalf of that individual, on behalf of Councillor Carl Gordon, and on behalf of the fantastic local government workers across Torfaen. During the pandemic, it was council workers and public sector workers across all disciplines which held our communities together, from the NHS to schools to refuse collection and all the services we as a council provide. Our council workers in Torfaen truly are superheroes, keeping our communities clean, educating children and young people, and offering support to the more vulnerable members of our communities, both young and old. Public support for our public service workers during and since the pandemic has risen with good reason. They are the glue that holds our communities together. But support and clapping on a Thursday evening does not pay the bills. Since 2010, local government workers have faced below average pay awards or pay freezes. This has meant a real terms reduction in pay in excess of over 25% over the past 13 years. In the last year alone, gas prices have risen by 132%. Electricity has risen by 66%. Mortgage interest payments by 26%. Petrol by 22%. Over the same period of time, the value of staff pay has fallen by 4.6%. HMRC mileage rates have remained frozen since 2011. Over the same period, petrol costs have risen by 43%. 81% of authorities are concerned about staffing capacity. Rapid inflation is pushing up prices faster than wages. The latest 2022 NJC pay award of £1,925 was completely wiped out by rising household costs. Local government workers are experiencing the fastest fall in living standards since records began. Members are skipping meals, not running the heating or relying on food banks. This crisis will burden local government workers with debt that will be carried with them for years. The 3 unions involved in the NJC pay negotiations this year are currently balloting for industrial action. I and Carl believe this council must send a clear message of support to all of our employees that they have the support of this council and that we stand with them in their struggle for fairer pay. Local government workers deserve a proper, real terms pay increase. The government needs to fully fund this increase so the burden does not fall on already cash-strapped local authorities. I therefore ask members to support this motion and to support the NJC pay claim, to call on the LGA to make representations to central government to fully fund the claim. The Council already has a good relationship with our unions, and we, as elected members, need to show tangible support on behalf of everyone who works for Torfaen. Colleagues, please support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Yule. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you. The motion is seconded. Members, do you wish to debate this? Councillor Alan Slade.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Just a quick, I wholly support the motion in terms of, I think our employees deserve a massive credit for their job, for what they do, and I completely agree that they deserve a decent pay rise. But I'm just a little bit confused because I thought the responsibility for public sector pay was under the Welsh Government. And part of the devolution agreement. Are we asking Westminster to take it outside the devolution agreement? Or I'm not sure where the funding, why we're writing to the UK government.
Councillor Anthony Hunt.
I just want to that. What's called the Green Book, the National Council Employers Bill, is negotiated at a UK level on an England and Wales basis, so it is a Treasury responsibility.
Councillor Giles Davis.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we do debate this or vote on it. I've got family working at the Civic Centre who would benefit from any action and any pay increase. Should I be declaring an interest or anything? Just out of curiosity, that's all.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Councillor Davis, no, this isn't about monies being awarded to staff. It's a motion and a way of working, so that's not relevant at this stage, but thank you for letting me know.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that's all. The other members you could have had the same interest as me, so that's fair enough. Thanks for explaining.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Any other comments from members? Yes, Councillor Sue Morgan.
I just wanted to point the obvious, really, that as well as our staff deserving and warranting these kind of living wages and the ability to feed their families without anxiety, there's also the impact on our ability to recruit and retain. So the services that we provide are also dependent on us being able to pay appropriate levels of wages.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Any other comments? Is there anybody wishing to add an amendment to this motion? No, thank you. I've got Councillor Gordon on here. Councillor Yowell, do you wish to have a right to reply to this?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Apologies, my microphone. If the I can turn a page. Apologies. So, members, I'm asking you whether or not you're for or against or abstention. So, all those in favour, please raise. Thank you. Anybody against? Any abstentions? That's universal, I think. Thank you for that. That takes us to, as carried, people outside of the meeting and online. You can come back in. Thank you. I don't think we have any declarations of interest on this next one. Motion 2, which is Councillor Alfie Best. Can you move and explain your motion for us, please, as shown on page 285 of the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. First, I'd like to say that this motion has been a team effort, so I'd like to thank Councillors Richard Clark, Dave Daniels, Nick Byrne and Sue Malson for their work on this motion and their passion on this issue. This motion focuses on men's mental health, not to ignore issues faced by others, but to shine a light on the disparity in mental health, raise awareness and encourage men and boys to talk about mental health issues more. I'm not going to read out the whole motion, everyone has it, but I'd like to highlight the paragraph that this council believes that mental health issues are not adequately addressed for men and boys due to cultural, societal and historical factors. Its collaborative approach involving community stakeholders and public services can effectively address the unique mental health needs of men and boys in our community, and that we all, as councillors, have a role to play in championing mental health. I'd be very grateful if members would support me on this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Best. Do we have any comments on? I know there's a couple of people who wish to speak. Councillor Yowell.
I'd like to speak, Madam Presiding Chair, but I think Councillor Byrne wants to second the motion first.
Councillor Byrne,
I would like to second that motion, please.
Thank you very much. I was looking for Councillor Molson actually, but there we go. Thank you. Councillor Yowell, you wish to speak first?
Yes, thank you very much. And this is what I prepared for, so I wasn't expecting to speak twice today. So thank you, Madam Presiding Member, for the opportunity to speak on this motion. I'd like to thank my colleague, Councillor Best, for bringing this important motion to the Council today. I would like to associate myself with the comments that he has drafted alongside our fellow colleagues, Councillors Byrne, Malson and Clark. I'm going to limit my interventions to 2 points. The first is a largely personal reflection on the issues, the substance of the motion. I think it's very timely that Men's Health Month, the ostensible occasion for this debate, is happening during Pride Month. And actually, I'd like to take the opportunity to pause here and to thank Councillor Jones for his commitment to working with community groups to organise a Pride event in Torvine, either this year or next year. And I'm more than happy to get involved and help with that endeavour. So I think it's very important that we sort of celebrate the diversity, the inclusion and the compassion of our people and of our communities up and down Torvine. And crucially, I think it's important to celebrate it because it hasn't always felt like that. Growing up gay in the 1980s and in the 1990s, the Eastern Valley did not feel like the most welcoming of places at times. I don't suppose that there was anything out of the ordinary in this. The almost ever-present low-level homophobia would have been felt in school playgrounds, on terraces and in workplaces across the country. But that was no consolation at the time, and neither did it soften the long-term psychological damage of suppressing my sexuality from an early age. This contributed, in large part, to me undergoing what was diagnosed after the event as a prolonged nervous and physical breakdown in my mid-30s, and indeed there are some of you in this room can remember the pitiful sight that was sort of 10 years ago. But that diagnosis came following a sustained period of self-destructive behaviour, in large part, which was diagnosed, as a therapist later said, by that sort of systemic suppression of oneself from a very early age. I mean, I've made a very full recovery, or I've made as full a recovery as I can make, is probably the best way of saying it, although I am forever watchful of those signs of mental retreat. As an adult, I can see that the line between what is historic self-loathing amongst LGBT children and teens and the unthinking homophobia levelled against them is a very thin line. And it is a line delineated by generations-old concepts of what we would now refer to as being both toxic and fragile masculinity, meaning that for many men, be they gay, straight, or somewhere in the middle, the pressure or the struggle to conform to what are accepted norms of quote-unquote male behaviour have led to issues with mental health and instances of aberrant, aggressive, and what should be, at least, antisocial and unacceptable behaviour. Anything that we can do to raise awareness and reduce stigma around men's mental health and to combat the perpetuation of shame and toxic masculinity where they exist should be supported 100%. And this is my second point, the importance of being open about these issues and encouraging men to talk about their problems. Now, I've always been very open about that period in my life. Indeed, as again, some of you will have read, in November 2018, I wrote an article for the gay magazine Attitude to highlight the issue as part of that year's Movember campaign. I was also lucky to be surrounded by a group of friends who have supported me through my recovery and was doubly lucky to undergo psychotherapy as part of this. Not everyone who needs these services can access them, which underlines the importance of this motion and the Council's commitment to taking these matters seriously, providing the opportunity and the space for residents to talk about problems they are facing without prejudice. No one should suffer in silence because they don't think that they can be open about the struggles they face. And just to finish off, we have a leadership role to play in reducing stigma, in normalising difficult conversations, and in the long term in shaping a genuinely inclusive environment where the need to deal with these issues in a remedial way will be a thing of the past. And that means that we, all of us as members in this room, I think, have to champion this agenda, but also lead as we mean to go on this. And it's about the interpersonal relationships on display in this chamber between members, wherever they may sit. It's important, actually, we show that we lead from the front to show respect for one another and for the views that we hold and the way in which we communicate them. So, with that, I'd just like to commend Alfie's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Noel. Very brave. Is there anyone wishing to add an amendment to this motion? No. Any other comments? I can't see. Okay. Councillor Best, would you wish to have a right of reply?
No, only to say thank you to Nathan for his comments.
Thank you very much. Members, can I ask you if you're in favour of this motion? Please show. Thank you. Those against? Those abstaining? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. That takes us to agenda item 16, the members' question time. There are 5 members' questions today, and there's a sheet at the back somewhere. Apologies for this. It was in order once. Yeah, all right. Okay. The first question is from Councillor David Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. My first question is to Councillor Owen. Morning, Councillor Owen. In June 2019, this Council passed a motion to declare a climate emergency. Since that date, what significant changes has this Council made, and do we have a 10-year future plan in place? If so, what does this entail?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Thompson. I'm really pleased you've asked this today. We do have a lot to celebrate. The list is way too long to go through every item, but I'll pick up a few highlights from each of our work streams and then can send a comprehensive list out to members after this meeting. Members in our community were central to the action plan which was approved in March 21 by Cabinet. We've shared a 6-monthly progress report with members, and we've also held a members' seminar on the activity and impact undertaken. So what have we done? In work stream 1, which is the Council itself becomes net zero
by 2030. We've designed and bid for funding for 3 heat pumps. We've installing a 1 megawatt substation at T-Blind to allow the complete electrification in time of our fleet. We can't have electrical vehicles if we can't charge them. We started enabling works for the net zero carbon 50-place extension at Crown Bridge School. We've secured levelling up funding to install a 143 kilowatt PV system on the Civic Centre car park. We've developed a sustainability roadmap for school meals, and we've also produced a carbon reduction plan which went to Cabinet in March and sets out how our buildings can and will reduce their emissions. Workstream 2 is how the Council leads, supports, facilitates and encourages Torvine's communities, residents and businesses towards net zero by 2050. We've recruited a business decarbonisation officer and a communities decarbonisation officer. They're both in post and they'll be supporting businesses and communities. We promoted the EcoFlex 4 scheme. We've opened a repair cafe in Pontypool Market. We've installed 11 double charging points in public car parks within the borough. And we've delivered 5 major active travel schemes, 2 in Cumberland Drive, 2 in Logan Way, and the new route through Lantana, which I know you've been heavily involved in. Workstream 3, changing climate factored into the way we plan so communities and services we deliver are resilient. We've been awarded $991,000 from Shared Prosperity Fund to deliver food resilience programme. Through collaborative Food for Growth project, 15 food scheme grants have been approved. We've completed phase 1 of Blind Brown Brook flood alleviation scheme in Brookland Park. We've produced a draft update to the local flood risk management strategy for Torvine. We will be consulting with communities on the strategy later this year, and I intend to invite scrutiny to look at this and also have a member seminar in due course on it. Workforce 4, Torvine's precious natural resources and the biodiversity they support are protected and enhanced. We've developed new green infrastructure. We've increased the number of public estate grassland sites which are positively managed for biodiversity. We've established 3 community orchards with funding from local places for nature, which has now exceeded our target. We've created management plans for Torvine's 7 existing nature reserves and have engaged with schools to identify opportunities to increase biodiversity areas. And we've also continued to work with community safety team and police to tackle off-roading. This isn't all the activity that's been done, but it's remarkable what has been done. Overall, our carbon emissions for 21-22 was 56 tonnes of carbon dioxide, which was largest by far within our expenditure and supply chains and not in our fleet or buildings, as some may think. To tackle this, we are working jointly with Cardiff and Monmouthshire on our new procurement strategy. We cannot measure Torvine as a place carbon emissions as this is done by UK government and only do it every couple of years, so we're waiting for the data to come through on that. But I will send a list out to all members following this meeting, along with the 22-23 annual summary, plus the 23-24 delivery plan, and then we can have another member seminar in the diary. I think the plan may be due for scrutiny 23-24 to ensure that we keep everyone engaged, involved, and also make sure everybody has the opportunity to come forward with ideas to ensure that we are tackling the emergency which we've declared in this chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. It's very easy, I suppose, for councillors to criticise without offering up solutions to yourself and officers. So I would just like to ask if it would be possible in the future for me to work a little bit more closely with yourself, just to offer up some ideas and some plans that I've got which I think may benefit you, officers, and the residents of Torvine. So I'd just like to say that.
Yeah, and thank you for that offer, Councillor Thomas. My door is always open. You know to get hold of me, and that goes for all members of the chamber as well. Thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor David Thomas, your second question to Councillor Anthony Hunt.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Morning, Councillor Hunt. We introduced a hybrid and remote working during the COVID pandemic to ensure that this council continued to operate during what was a time of crisis. It is now time that members and staff return to face-to-face meetings in the chamber and use remote working as the exception and not the norm.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Thank you for your question. I'd like to separate your question into its two parts about members and staff, as that distinction can sometimes be confused. We have to remember that 99% of the people who work in this building are not elected councillors but council staff, working to provide services from schools to social care and local environmental services. As members, I recognise the need to deal with matters face-to-face as much as possible and practical. After all, politics and public representation is about people, and I often learn as much from chatting to other members before and after meetings as I do from the formal business of the day. That's how we solve misunderstandings and make progress. However, there are occasions when hybrid working allows members to attend meetings they otherwise wouldn't, for example, if they have a meeting elsewhere on the same day. Regarding our staff, again, much business is now being done face-to-face now the threat of COVID-19 has subsided. We've remodelled our offices to allow staff a safe and productive environment to work here at the Civic Centre, while saving on costs at other locations. However, we should take care as employers not to suggest that just because a member of staff isn't in the office 5 days a week, that they're not working hard. Many members of our staff have gone above and beyond from outside the office. For example, our revenues and benefits staff and others getting payments out to individuals and businesses throughout the pandemic and since. And let's remember the lockdown wasn't a time of rest for many of our staff, in frontline roles having to adapt to a new way of working, or in roles like library staff who innovated to provide a service to residents at a difficult time. We should also be aware that we're in something of a national recruitment crisis across many aspects of public services. At such a time, hybrid working may allow those with disabilities or caring responsibilities to do jobs they otherwise wouldn't be able to, and for us to therefore take advantage of their valuable contribution. So yes, we should strive to provide the best possible service to residents and reassure them we're here to help when they need us, but I hope we can take advantage of technology to get back to something better than just the old normal. Lastly, I'll note the relevance of Councillor Thomas's last question on climate emergency to this question. Hybrid technologies can help us reduce unnecessary journeys. For example, last week I had 3 meetings in London that I could avoid travelling to, save cost and carbon emissions, and free up more time to do work back here in Torvine.
Councillor Hunt. Councillor Thomas, do you have any supplementary? Thank you for that. Can I ask you to ask a third question to Councillor Amanda Owen, please?
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Over the past few years, Councillor Slade, O'Connell and I expressed the concerns of both us, the general public of Torvine, over the spraying of glyphosate weed killer. Given its harmful reputation to humans, animals and the environment, and the fact that this council has declared a climate and nature emergency for its cleaner and greener agenda, will you now give assurances that this harmful substance will now be banned from the use in Torvine, and we will seek alternative solutions for weed control?
Councillor Owen.
Again, thank you for this question, Councillor Thomas. As you know, the Council currently controls weeds using a glyphosate-based substance for both our roads, pavements, and also Japanese knotweed. I don't think we can introduce an immediate ban and then look at alternatives as proposed. I'm sure members and our officers would be inundated with complaints of weed growth throughout the borough. If there is to be a change, it has to be beneficial on a number of fronts: environmental, health and finance. It also needs to be introduced and managed properly. As you're aware, there's been a lot of scrutiny on this in the past, both at scrutiny and council level, and we've looked in depth at the concentration used, the amount of spraying which takes place, and officers are always looking at alternative options. To that end, I can advise that Cardiff Council commissioned a really robust academic assessment of all the options available to councils on how to manage weeds. We've been liaising closely with Cardiff on taking the report into Cleaner Scrutiny Committee for the 22-23 cycle, but unfortunately, delays from Cardiff made that impossible. I'm going to strongly recommend that this evidence is reviewed by Cleaner Scrutiny over the next period, which will then inform a decision on the way forward from next year. And I can email the link to the Cardiff report out to all members who can all read the report in depth.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Thomas. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. No, not really a question as such, but again, I would like to reiterate, I do have concerns about glyphosate and some ideas and solutions that I would like to share with yourself and officers if possible.
Thank you for that, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Jason O'Connell, your next question, question 4, please.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Please can the leader expand on Torfaen Labour councillors' comments that they would like to embarrass food bank users, as reported in the South Wales Argus on the 12th of May. The story is attached as a link. And what benefit does he think embarrassing users of this vital service offer our community during a cost of living crisis?
Councillor Anthony Head, do you answer that?
Thank you for your question, Councillor O'Connell. I know members are anxious to ensure there's provision for everyone who needs it from the inevitably finite stocks, but our focus should be on encouraging all those who need to seek assistance, whatever the circumstance. It is regrettable that macroeconomic policy at a UK level has driven so much reliance on food banks, but the job they do is vital, and I want to thank all those who volunteer in them. As a council, we've supported food banks and community schemes with well over 100 tonnes of food via our council-funded deal with Fair Share Cymru. Members from across the Chamber have also contributed to help fund this work and have supported our efforts to increase the financial inclusion support and further our work with Torfaen Citizens Advice Bureau to help those in need. Indeed, many members volunteer personally and were among the first to roll up their sleeves to assist when the pandemic hit, causing extra need and making provision more complex. The Council, as mentioned, have been fully supportive of their efforts and have personally raised funds and helped contribute to this work to help those local people in need.
Thank you, Councillor Head. Councillor O'Connell.
Just to say, I would have hoped that there would have been an apology in there. I'm disappointed not to hear that, but I fully agree with the comments made that members from across the council absolutely rolled up their sleeves and take the time from their personal lives to help food banks. So I think when these comments came out, they were disappointing and caused some distress amongst not only food bank users, but volunteers as well. So thank you for the answer, but I would have hoped for an apology in there as well.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connell. Next question is question 5, Councillor Carl Gordon.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Presiding Member. Councillor Daniels, could the Executive Member for Adult Services and Housing please provide an update on the current situation with regards to residential care homes in Torfaen who have not accepted the local authority's fee offer? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Golden. Yeah, I've been quite vocal on this matter, and we're at quite a delicate point in negotiations, so I'm going to stick pretty rigidly to what I've written down. I'd really appreciate the opportunity to speak directly to members about this. I've also been in regular contact with Councillor Janet Jones as Chair of Healthier Communities, and I'd like to take the opportunity to pay tribute to her support throughout. She's been fantastic. Members will recall the briefing that I sent out last month prior to the accompanying press release highlighting the Council's position, so I won't go over that in any detail. Since then, adult services officers have continued to engage directly with providers to both maintain a good working relationship and to understand the provider's position. Our position remains that the additional £63 per person per week uplift that those providers are demanding would present an unaffordable, unbudgeted additional revenue cost of almost £900,000 for the adult services budget for the year. To pay for this, we would be looking at service cuts, something we've tried very hard to avoid over the years, despite some incredibly challenging budgets over the past decade. It's also highly likely that our efforts to increase the amount we pay for domiciliary care, the need for which I've relentlessly spoken about in this chamber and elsewhere, will be stymied in the future. Adding the additional £900,000 to our residential care costs will mean that next year the starting point for this annual fee-setting exercise will be higher, and this would clearly impact on other service areas. Unfortunately, given the percentage of the market not accepting our fee, it's highly likely that unless an agreement is reached, we will need to utilise care homes in neighbouring local authorities. At this point, I will take the opportunity to remind members that Torfaen pays the highest level of set fees in Wales and way above the national average for all local authorities. In the previous 5 years, we've increased our fees by an aggregate of 40%, with 2023 last year seeing a range increase of 17 to 25% depending on the type of care received. So hopefully we can see that providers here in Torfaen have been heavily supported financially by this local authority, and even with this year's uplift being between 6.94% and 7.57%, our providers remain amongst the best paid in the country. I will veer from my script a bit. If they were the lowest paid, if they were in the lowest paid quartile, or if they were even in the middle of the table, I would totally understand their position. I would have sympathy for them. But the fact is that they are right at the top in terms of pay in all of Wales, and that cannot be understated, and I think that needs to be borne in mind when we consider their position on this. There has also been some commentary from those providers regarding the fee setting process. We maintain in the strongest possible terms that we have used sound methodology to determine this year's fees. This methodology accounts for the real living wage and inflationary considerations, and this is the same methodology we've used in previous years, and providers have been fully engaged in this process, as they always are. Since providers wrote out to their residents and loved ones, our adult services team have been working non-stop to speak directly to each and every resident or representative to offer reassurance and clarity on the situation. With over 150 residents affected, this has not been an insignificant task. It's obviously been a worrying time for residents and their loved ones, but our communication with them has sought to ensure that they know our next actions will always have their best interests at the centre of what we're doing. Given the vulnerabilities of the residents involved, it remains the case that we would never seek to move anyone unless a review indicated that their needs can no longer be met within that category of care. So their needs are absolutely central to whatever we do going forward. Residents and their representatives will be fully involved in all best interest decision making. On closing, I would like to once again urge those care providers to accept our fees for this year, which keeps them as some of the best paid care homes in all of the country and ensures future residents have the choice of being placed in one of their care homes going forward. Members have my assurance that I will keep them abreast of further developments, and as always, I'll be very happy to take questions or queries in email, in person, over the phone, as you need me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daniels.
Supplementary, if I may.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Gordon.
Chair, more observation. I'm grateful for the comprehensive answer you've given there, Councillor Daniels, and I'm going to limit my comments because, as you said at the outset, we're in a delicate stage of negotiation, and as a negotiator myself, you don't want somebody with a size 11 charging in. However, an observation: what do we stand for as a council? It's about looking after our communities, isn't it? And the most vulnerable members of our communities. And we've chosen over the years to put that in the hands of the private sector. And as ye reap, shall ye sow, right? So I'm going to bring a bit of socialism out now and say this is the wrong route. And let's see where we go with this. So I'll reserve my comments for now. But there is an existential crisis, and people will know this is one of my topics du jour. There is an existential crisis in the care industry, be it residential, domiciliary, and whatever, and it's because the care industry is meant to do that, it's to care. It's not meant to turn a profit. It's not meant to pay dividends. Yes, it's got to wipe its face, but when we're being held to ransom, and as you say, by private care operators who are the best paid in Wales, I find that extremely distressing. Good luck with the negotiations, but it's not my last interjection on this particular topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. If members could keep to a supplementary question rather than a debate after their question, that would help. That takes us to agenda item 17, which is Cabinet decisions on the 9th of the 5th, 2023. The Cabinet decisions start on page 287, and for the Council to note, there were no challenges to any of the decisions. Can I ask members, anybody wishing to comment or ask a question on the Cabinet minutes? No, I don't see any. Can I just ask members if they agree with the recommendations? All those in favour, please, to note. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much. That takes us to the final item, the date and time of the next meeting. For your information, members, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, the 18th of July at 10 a.m. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you for those online.